Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I am Richard Dugan, your host. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program as we get set to dive into another author's book. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation beyond that as well. The title of the book is Hush. Shh, don't say anything. No. The book is Hush. And my guest is the author of the book, and his name is Michael Selig. Michael, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Oh, it's an honor to be here, Richard.
First of all, because I'm observant of all these kinds of things, can you please explain to me your background?
Sure. So I'll give you the Reader's Digest version, hopefully. I came out of the University of Arkansas with a history degree and went right into flight training for the Marines, which basically means you're going to go through Navy flight training. So I went to Pensacola, Florida, and kind of did the Top Gun thing. I was selected for jets and then was sent to Beeville, Texas for intermediate flight training. And there I flew T-2 Buckeyes and A-4 Skyhawks, which is the jet that the Blue Angels flew before they got F-18s. So you might remember the old A-4 Skyhawk, pretty fun jet. And then I was selected to fly A-6 Intruders, which is an attack jet, all-weather attack jet. And I flew in Desert Storm. I flew combat missions in Desert Storm in 1991. During that time, I was also the intelligence officer for the squadron and reading top secret briefs. And then after I got out of the military, a total of 8 years is how long I was in for. That's one tour for a pilot because they spend so much money on you. You don't just do 3 and out. So then I went to LA, and since that time, I've been writing screenplays and producing movies. I had a show on Netflix called Southern Justice, also on Showtime. I have a current show on Amazon Prime called The Gunrunner Billy Kane. It's a sci-fi pilot. And I basically I've been writing stories for years for production companies that just hire me to write a story, and then sometimes they get them produced and sometimes they don't. And that's just typical Hollywood stuff. But this is my first novel. So there you have it.
What made you want to write this novel? What was the catalyst for you?
Good question. So I was in the Desert Storm conflict. I was reading top secret briefs, and at the same time I was flying combat missions, and at the same time I would come back after those missions in the middle of the night or in the early morning, and I would go to the officers' mess hall, which was basically on the southeast tip of the island of Bahrain, was where our base was, and the mess hall was just a gigantic warehouse where all the officers ate. And we had a huge CNN screen there, So I'm watching the news, getting one feed of what I'm supposed to know. I'm going into the secret, top secret bunker, so to speak, where I'm reading all the stuff that's worldwide being passed around at the top secret level, also stuff for my squadron. And then I'm actually flying combat missions. So I was getting three different kind of antennas of stuff that was happening, and none of it was quite making sense. I just had a sense like somebody else is pulling the strings here. This isn't the military. This isn't our government. The feed from the media was saying stuff about nuclear weapons, but none of the top secret, that Saddam had possibly nuclear weapons at the time. That was the big thing they were trying to push. And but the top secret stuff that I was reading was not covering that.
Hmm.
So I just had a sense like something's off here. I don't know what it is. And, at the time, I'm just trying to do my job as a pilot and not get shot down. So after I got out and started working in Hollywood and writing, I just, over time would hear about contactee events or hear about the secret space program or hear about, possibly stuff being reverse engineered in Area 51. And I just would casually read over time, but then things started to click together to where I realized, oh, some of this feels like there's too much information here for this not to be real. And that's what was the impetus for Hush.
Mm.
So Hush is basically your covert history from about 1940 coming up through into the kind of the late 40s. It will certainly cover Roswell for you, but it's also the timeline of the Malaysian flight hijacked. And so I provide some information around that in the story, so you'll get to kind of have a pretty good idea of what my version of what I think occurred with MH370. And it weaves into the story because it has to do with alien-related technologies.
Now that particular fact, that was the one that disappeared. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
has not been found. Am I correct on that one also?
that's correct. Yeah, March 8th, 2014, it vanished with 239 people aboard.
Makes me think of a television series. Oh, let's see, which one was that? Lost, which by the way went on a heck of a lot longer than it should have, in my opinion. That's
Yeah,
just me. It's like,
sure.
how much longer are you going to drag this out? Either kill them
Mm-hmm.
off or set them free. Okay,
Right,
do
right,
something.
right.
But anyway, it's interesting how you've put this together, and you say it's along the lines of sci-fi. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I write fiction because that's what I find the most interesting to read. Like when I
Hmm.
write screenplays or whatever, but my fiction in the case of Hush has to do with excessive research in the case of each thing. So if I write about Roswell, you can pretty much bet that wherever I place the character, let's say it's Eisenhower, pretty much every detail that you're reading has been massively vetted, researched. I've come at it from every angle that I can find. I've read every book I can find. The book took 3 years for me to write, so that when you're reading the story, you have if it interests you beyond just, I mean, my first goal obviously is storytelling, and that it should be a great read for you. So something to take you out of your week that's fun to read. And the Audible is also out now, and it's 22 hours of me reading the novel. So you can also enjoy that if you're out for a long drive or whatever, or just need something to take you out of your work week. It's a fun listen, but you'll learn a lot about the details of covert events that have occurred since 1940, and I've done my very best to weave the story through all of the facts that I can find, and so there's that too.
So it's sort of because I was introduced to this many years ago, sort of a fact-based fictional story,
Exactly.
and those are kind of fun. I love, for example, and what just came to my mind was, of course, the Back to the Future series, where they would go back in time to certain places, and they were historically accurate from one level. But then you've got these people that have no business being there. They belong 100 years later and so forth.
Right.
And I've often thought about that, and I use the analogy in regards to, for example, the emotion of regret. That regret, basically, you're saying, if only I could go back in time and make a different choice. And I reiterate that you can't, number one, go back. But even if you could and you did change things, there's no guarantee that you would actually exist in the present that you left. It's kind of like there was a scenario of that in one of the Back to the Future series movies, where he started disappearing from the picture because they had changed something. So regret, just forget about it. It's not going to happen. When and you are, as you mentioned, of course, a decorated Marine jet pilot. One of the things that I actually love about my life, especially post lens implant, is the fact that I've got it packed away somewhere. It is a pilot's flight log book. I only have maybe 2 hours in it. I never thought I would even have 1 minute in one
Yeah. How
prior.
exciting.
And flying in these small little jets or airplanes that I have friends in Santa Barbara, a gentleman who has an experimental plane. What's that like for you? Was that something that thrilled you, that you wanted to do, you definitely wanted to fly, or is it just something that you found yourself in when you got into the Marines?
No, I went in specifically to fly. I'm a hopeless romantic at heart. I used to see the jets flying over my little town and just thought, I'm going to do that one day. And so, as soon as I got into college and I was a history major because I loved history and realized, oh, there's all these people here that are in ROTC and all these different armed services. And so I just took the flight test and was accepted into the Marine flight training. So then but I had already gotten my private license by the time I went to college. So I was way into aviation I was a baby. I always kind of knew I wanted to fly.
Wow. I remember as a child having a dream where it was summertime. I was walking around on the hot pavement and the beautifully kept lawn my dad did back in Phoenix, Arizona. And all I did was I started pedaling my feet and I began to rise. I began to fly just from pedaling my feet. And I thought, okay, this sounds like a lot of fun. And I tell you, one experience, there are two that I haven't had yet. I would love to have. One is a hang glider, or no, just the regular, the glider, and so forth, to get towed behind a plane, and hot air ballooning. I'd love to try both of those.
Definitely go to Albuquerque for the big festival, because just to go there and watch, I've been through there when they were doing it. It is that just watching it is an inspirational place to be when they are launching all those balloons at once. You just can't help but have your heart just explode. I mean, it's so many colors and the scenery of the desert there and where they're doing it and the excitement of everybody going up in balloons, and you're just like, wow, it's like human civilization departing the planet. It's wild.
Well, now, what goes up must come down, but when you're talking about that kind of an experience, you don't know where exactly it's going to come down because you're subject to the winds.
I think that's awesome.
That's the adventure of it.
Yeah, right. There's no
And
guarantee in anything.
that's true. That's true. I don't even know if I'll wake up in the morning or
That's right.
what have you.
That's right.
But taking advantage of those adventures is just incredible. We're talking with MD Mike Selig, and of course, his latest work, his novel, is Hush. We'll talk more about that and more about the work that he is doing, especially in regards to television, movies, and so forth here on Tell Me Your Story. This is a program that brings new ideas, new concepts, new experiences, and Mike Selig is my guest here on the program. and you're involved with the media, movies and television, if you will, or maybe it's just movies. I know you say you've got some specials, something on Netflix and on what did you say, Amazon or Apple?
Showtime, and there's a new
Showtime.
one on Amazon right now. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to get a list of those just so I can look those up and watch those.
sure.
Now, you are the one that is writing the
hmm
screenplay, if you will, what we're
hmm
seeing on the screen. You're not directing or producing or
Uh,
executive anything. You're,
all the above, actually.
you are all
Writing,
of okay.
writing, directing, producing, and I star in The Gunrunner Billy Kane.
Now
So I was doing
you have your own
acting. I
production
was
company.
Well, for those shows I do. I mean, I
Yeah.
have an investor that comes in and likes what I'm doing, and then says, "Okay, well, let's get this rolling." But I've always been an actor, so I was like an actor in Zero Dark 30 as a helicopter pilot, and did acting for 13 years in LA. Just that was kind of my main goal going there, and
Yeah.
so the writing was something where I realized I'm coming in here late. I'm not 15 years old coming to LA. I'm a former, Marine pilot. So now I'm coming in really late and I'm old. So no one's going to write for me. So I thought I better start writing and producing on my own. So as I was going to acting auditions, I was writing for production companies to, just make a living. And so that's what I was doing.
Hmm.
And then
There-
once I got certain things, like Southern Justice, once we got it financed, then I'm producing the show and then directing it and then I'm starring in it and, casting it. So I'm doing all the stuff that an independent production does.
Zero Dark 30, if I'm correct, that was the story of the SEALs going in to hopefully take Bin Laden, but ended up killing him. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there was another one with Ben Affleck. Now, you probably had nothing to do with it. I want to say Argo. It was another military operation.
Argo was another one. I think that had something to do with by the end they're on the runway and it's an aircraft escaping with hostages or something. I
I
can't remember,
think
but
that's
I did watch it and I really liked it. Yeah.
yeah. Some of those I really enjoy. I like the ones with Harrison Ford as president on Air Force One.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the space adventure with Tom Hanks and Tommy Lee Jones and
Yeah.
company. Saving
Mm-hmm.
the World. And then, of course, there was Apollo 13, also quite a dramatic thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the things I love speaking about space is that everybody likes to talk about Apollo 11, but actually, the real adventure was Apollo 8 because it was the first time we left the Earth
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for another planetary body, shall we say?
Mm-hmm.
And that I never even thought about that until I was talking with a good friend of mine, Dr. Sky Steve Cates, who he has his
Mm-hmm.
own program. We have a program together called Skyview, and we got to
Mm-hmm.
talking about that. And he said, "Oh no, the big deal was Apollo 8 because that was the first time mankind, regardless of country,
Mm-hmm.
but earthbound, that actually left Earth's orbit. And
Mm-hmm.
then they got the money shot of the Earth behind the moon. Really, really
Yeah.
something, and really cool. I want to talk a little bit more about some of this information that's out there. I mean, we in the general public, Mike, we are inundated with information, or I should say, we choose to be inundated. We don't have to be. We can turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
We can watch or listen to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this, you were talking a little bit before about some the kinds of information that or at least the fact that there is all of this stuff going on. And one of the things that I'm curious about, there's a phrase that I came up with. And again, please understand, I recognize the world that we live in,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But if you have no secrets to keep, you have no secrets to keep. Ergo, you don't need an intelligence agency. You don't need Secret Service. You don't need the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, whether they're acronyms in the alphabet soup that are out there, whether they're acknowledged or not. You wouldn't need them Because what do we have to what do we have? Everybody's got the same stuff. We don't need to hide this and that kind of stuff. And then there's also this wonderful Old Testament biblical passage that says there is nothing new under the sun. And yet we keep thinking that we've created or developed or discovered something brand new, and it's like, well, if you're talking transportation, getting from point A to point B, yeah, we'll change the modality, but it's
Hmm.
always getting from point A to point B. If you're talking about
Hmm.
conversation, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different languages that are spoken that we could learn to be able to communicate,
Hmm.
but we speak what we speak, and we'll learn what we'll learn. And the list
Hmm.
goes on of all the other areas of our lives.
Hmm.
And then there's the kicker of all kickers that only really introduced itself in the last 8 or 10 years, I think. And that's this issue of not trusting the information that we are being given, not trusting the institutions that provide that information because maybe
Hmm.
they have a philosophy that's different than ours. Not
Hmm.
trusting Selig, as far as the information he's given us on this program because he's got the same hairdo as I do.
It's true.
And so on and so on. And so we get into a quagmire where now we don't know what to believe. We don't know
Hmm.
who to believe. And
Hmm.
so now we start creating our own stuff, making it up in many instances. And yet, it wasn't that long ago that we believed that science was telling us the truth at the time. And I'll just reiterate on the science part, science is not something set in stone, it's an art. And it's ever changing because we're continuing to develop new ways of seeing our world and ourselves.
Hmm.
But talk to us a little bit about this I want to gap that we have right now between what we believe and what we don't believe for political, religious, economic, educational reasons.
Hmm.
I don't know what the reasons are, but why are we here?
That's a great question. I think the what I come back to at least is with all of the media that's out there and kind of you have to decide what you're going to bite on because you only have so many hours in the day away from work, away from family. So if you choose to go to a particular website or if you're watching TV or listening to a radio show, you're effectively selecting kind of the vein of information that you're going to get because it is all very much separated into kind of categories now, right? So if some people love to watch CNN, for instance, and somebody else will watch a different type of news story. Maybe it's local news. But I think the key for me, at least, is I have changed from just watching and absorbing to using my heart as I listen. And I'm noticing that there's been a great change for me of I now don't even watch CNN anymore. I literally had to have somebody tell me, "Did you know that Trump was shot at?" And I was like, "What?" And so I have disappeared from mainstream media, and it's been one of the best things that's occurred for me. All I can say is that when I use my heart and I get information, even from an interaction out in public, if I'm in a store or interacting with family or anything else, departing from my head, from where I used to dwell all the time and trying to think things out and obviously overthink things, switching to a heart centered approach has completely changed what I want to intake, so to speak, because it has to feel absolutely real. And if I have the least sense of that I'm just getting sound bites from much higher up that have nothing to do with truth, then I find that just the heart centered approach is great. And if that means that I don't watch what everyone else watches, then that's great too. So that's been my experience, is that kind of to answer your question of, what is truth and why are we here and what's the purpose of it all. I don't know what it is for each individual. Each person has to do that, but I can say for certain that if you're listening with your heart now, if you're watching with your heart, if you're letting your heart lead in this really tumultuous time, you'll be fine.
I couldn't agree with you more. We're talking with Mike Selig, and we're talking about, of course, the work that he is talking about now. It's called Hush. Hush is the novel. We hope you'll get a copy and go to Amazon and order it. And we'll also give you his website here in just a moment as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I am Reverend Dr. D. Richard Dugan, and we are speaking with our very special guest here on the program, Mike Selig, and talking about his book, which is Hush, and we certainly hope that you'll get a copy of that. The website that we want to send you to is a fairly easy one. It's MD, as in David, MDSelig, SELIG.com. We'll be linked to that website as well so that you can find out more about the work that he is doing. You have raised, Mike. Well, first of all, I have to acknowledge that is also my brother's name. So my brother would never shave his head, but there you go. And I will also share with you too, speaking of this whole information issue, my brother and I just happened to be, and I found this out in a conversation I had with him, that we are on opposite ends of the political spectrum. And I remember we sat down one night, and this was the night following our oldest sister's memorial, that we had this conversation. We had just begun, and I kind of knew where this could go. And I said, okay, no matter the conversation, no matter what happens here, he will always be your brother. There will be no estrangement. You will not take any positions, and I've never done this with anybody else either. But you will not take any positions. He's your brother, and he is your brother, and that is beyond politics. It's beyond religion. It's beyond economic. It's beyond everything. We're not going our separate ways, and so forth, like a lot of people have done in families, which is so sad.
That's
We had
awesome
this
that you saw that in advance, Richard, that you
Oh,
knew it was coming and that you caught yourself in advance
yep,
to approach it kind of with humility and to put that strong step forward, like, no matter what we say here, this is not going to break our bond. I think
exactly.
that's
And here's
awesome.
the interesting kicker. As we got to the end of the conversation, we both agreed on three things in this country in particular that needed to be dealt with. All right? We didn't necessarily agree on how, and that didn't matter. The fact that the two of us agreed on three things was monumental. But see, my brother and I, we've never been estranged because we've never gotten into that realm until this particular experience 2 or 3 years ago. And I find it so interesting that it's like I want to talk about it all. Okay, let's just say it's the history of America. I want to talk about it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Not necessarily how exceptional we are as a country, even though there will be those who will say we are. I don't see us as any different than any other country. It's the people in this country that make it different from that standpoint. Whether this country lasts longer than the Roman Empire or the Egyptian empires or whatever, it doesn't matter to me if we, as the people of this country, are not together working towards. To me, the last common goal we worked towards was space, going to the moon. That was the last time. Some would say, well, yeah, but what about going after bin Laden? We were not all in favor of that because we were not all aware, nor we didn't all feel that the information that we were given was necessarily accurate because there were just stuff going on. I mean, it was just crazy. The space program was something else, and we had our innocence back then. And then we had the multiple assassinations in the 60s, even though the moon landing came after Kennedy, Kennedy and Robert and John and their assassinations. And then, of course, we had Martin Luther King and so forth. But it just seemed as though that was something that we need to do. We need to do something as a country together. You know, I don't know, maybe it's going to Mars, you know? Maybe it's developing a device that is strong enough that can withstand the pressures to go down to the depths, to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, like James Cameron tried to do with his little device and so forth. Whatever it is, it's like the one thing that seems to bring us together, Mike, is disasters. Because even with the lockdown, look what happened. Aside from the other falderall, you had people stepping up wanting to make stuff for the first responders. You know, the masks and the this and the that and the other. And I thought, wow, we got some talented people in this country. It's great. It's absolutely fabulous. But you mentioned something, and I got off on a sidetrack there, but you mentioned something very important. I want to deal with it right now as we continue here on the program, and that is we promote and encourage people to spend time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, going within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listening to that still, small voice. And that is, in essence, what you're talking about when you're talking about following your heart, whether it's dealing with the information that you are exposed to or any other part of your life. Tell me why that's so important to you.
Sure. So I was stuffing the achievement hat in LA and also with the flying thing. I think all my life I've been told that success was, you have to become this, that, and the other, and then success, and then you're happy. And I found that that wasn't necessarily the case, that I could produce a movie and go, oh my God, I've produced a movie and it's getting distribution. And that joy and excitement about something that I had achieved maybe lasted a few hours. And the next day it's back to, okay, well, what are you doing next? What have you done lately, right? And this was for myself. And I just realized that I had no inside garden. I didn't have any garden growing inside me. I kept reaching outbound for others to make me happy, that if I produced a movie or if I was in a movie or if I wrote the great thing or this, that, and the other, that I would get kudos from people outside me, and therefore I could then start to love myself. And that proved to be completely untrue. So about 5 years ago, somewhere around there, I just happened upon a Rumi poetry book. And for those of your listeners, I'm sure most people are familiar, but for those aren't, the quick Reader's Digest version of Rumi is he was a poet from 750 years ago. He happens to be the most translated poet in the world. His stuff is everywhere. And I think the reason his stuff is everywhere is because all he talks about is if you will get quiet and get empty, just let go of everything and show up every day and do that, you will find a magical contentment that is beyond any words. It's unspeakable. And I have been doing that for the last 5 years. I just told myself, okay, look, I'm just going to do 5 minutes a day because I'm a fast food guy. I need this to happen right now, right? So I said, okay, well, at least I'll stop my day for 5 minutes. So I got into a routine of I would wake up, have a very simple breakfast. No technology was allowed to be turned on. And I would light a little sage. I created a little kind of an experience for myself. I would light a little sage, sit by a window, and I would just sit for 5 minutes. And what happened is very quickly, the little moments that I would have where it would just be full monkey mind and I couldn't quiet down, and all of a sudden, as my brainwaves slowed down over 5 minutes or so, I'd get just a split-second gasp of, what was that? What was that quiet? What was that momentary contentment? What was that? It's like the angels had the curtains open But the second I tried to wrap my head around it, the angels would close the curtains again. Oh, no, no, you don't get to know this with your head. You only get to know this when you open your heart. And so what I learned over time is that if I just stayed in my heart, the curtains stayed open, and I was in what Rumi says sometimes, a place where you are never so content. And I found that that could go on for up to, in my case, up to 3 hours, to where I just would tell myself I'm only sitting for 5 minutes, because that's my commitment to myself. I'm going to try to get quiet for 5 minutes. But then what started to happen was so magical, and I can only tell you that it's completely changed me in molecular ways, to where the way I move through the world now has completely changed.
Hmm.
Did I answer your question, Richard?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, I'm going to follow that up with this. In the New Testament, Jesus, of course, is talking to his disciples. They're worried about what they're going to wear and eat and sleep and all this kind of stuff, and they're also curious about all these miracles that he's doing, right? And they say, "Could you teach us?" And of course, he says, "Yes, of course, but let me tell you something. You guys are going to do greater works than these." And I honestly believe that the greater work is that transformation that we're all going through. The process that you just described, I honestly believe is part of the transformation of us as individuals, which then also transforms our society. It transforms our communities, because we are all connected. We affect one another. Uh, you know,
Yeah, and to your point that you said earlier, what is that you're kind of nostalgic for, that one great thing that's going to tie us all together? Maybe it's the space thing, or we figure out something. And what I would say to that, and the thing that came to kind of to my heart as you were speaking, is I think that thing that you're talking about is not going to come in the form of, are we going to go to space together? Are we going to create a new invention that would go south or deep or anywhere? I think the thing that's going to bind us is if we can all figure it out, that if we go inside and we kind of learn to sit with ourselves as love, that humanity, not just America, but all of the planet, comes together in a way that is so beyond anything else. And that, I think, is the unstoppable thing that will set humanity on a course to move into the multiverse. We as humans have a capability that even the alien races that I'm aware of, they view us as royalty. And the reason they view us as royalty is because we have intent, and our intent is to love. When we step into who we really are, we bring a power that many other races don't have. We have an emotion and a feeling and a thing that we bring that is love. And when we explode into who we are individually by going inside, the thing that's occurring right now on the planet, you may be seeing the turmoil and tumultuousness of what's in the media, but I have a feeling that those factors, those compressing factors, are sending people on a journey inside, because they're not getting what they need outside. And I believe it's directed, and I believe it's for us to come together as a race from love.
As much as I absolutely love the Star Trek philosophy and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
even as a kid watching the series, the phrase "space, the final frontier," I didn't think was accurate. The
Oh,
final
that's great.
frontier is truly our interior, our inner life. And yeah, and that is where we're all headed. I think too, another thing too that is fascinating to me, and by the way, the universe asked a question. I'm just along for the ride. My father just recently passed. He passed away about a couple of years ago. It'll be 3 years, actually, this March. And, I used to think about death and dying, you know, the process and so forth, and is there something after this? And
Mm-hmm.
nobody knows. Nobody knows, but a lot of people believe. So this is how I put it. Number one, if there is nothing after this life, we're not going to know it because there's nothing. Okay. However, in my God-given brain, the logic and the processing that I use in my brain says that there has to be something after this because it doesn't make any sense that we go through all of the machinations that we do, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and then there's nothing? Really? It doesn't make any sense. It's illogical. Sorry, Spock. But it's, you know, but again, that may just be my mind making that kind of thing up. Yeah. Folks, if you're not watching on YouTube, I just received the Live Long and Prosper Vulcan salute. I love that. That's beautiful. But what do you think about that in terms of our existence? That we're here for less than a puff of smoke, as I put it. But
Sure. So, oh, go ahead.
we have a meaning to something. It's craziness, you know, in one sense.
Sure. So, my research, not only from listening to contactees who deal with alien races, but secret space program folks who've been out there, aliens who have contacted various humans over time, all of the hundreds and hundreds of stories, even from abductees who have been abducted and even gone through torturous experiences, but also get information that they didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
My, and this is again, my heart would kind of listen to all these stories. And what I believe occurs is that you as love, or we as love, an individual as love, chose to come into this particular avatar for this passage. But at the end of the day, you were here before as love. You chose to enter an avatar to learn more about yourself as love. The avatar will die, but you don't. You don't go anywhere. So all of your loved ones that were here before, that had their little passage in their avatar, had to go through the tumultuous roller coaster that's wonderful at some moments and awful at other times. Like with you, Richard, you didn't have sight, then you have sight. You've gotten some experiences, and I can guess that sometimes without sight, those are some of your best moments because of the other things that came in without sight. And now you have sight and you have some amazing experiences there. But one is not better than the other. It's just more experiences for you as love to learn about yourself as love. The avatar is giving you moments where you have interactions with other humans and realize, oh, I got mad at that person, but then this great thing occurred, and you go through the roller coaster and you learn more about yourself. So to answer your question definitively, in my opinion, we were here before as each individual is love, is combined with all of us. We're all just love. And we do reincarnations. Sometimes I believe we can actually be running multiple avatars
Mm-hmm.
as love, that we are that powerful within the multiverse, and that all of those avatars that we're running are just us learning more about love, and the avatars pass, but we're still here as we were before. So that's my take on it.
I love it. I love it. Boy, we're more in sync than not. It's extraordinary the different philosophies and different twists and turns and so forth. And we hope that you folks are enjoying this program. We're talking with Mike Selig, MD Selig, and his book is Hush. It is a science fiction novel, and I hope you'll get a copy. I'm going to read mine because I got to tell you, I love science fiction. I read, now when I was growing up, I was listening to Audible before it was Audible. It was recordings for the blind and talking books for the blind. And I remember reading Frank Herbert's Dune, but I actually was able to pick up a paperback version of Frank Herbert's The Prometheus Project. I'm pretty sure he wrote that. And I couldn't put it down. I was up until 2 and 3 in the morning and it was precarious because I had to hold a book with one hand and then the magnifying glass with the other to try to read the
Right.
darn book. And you know how,
Right.
and this was a thick book. It was a thick book.
But it's
But
so great when you're into it, right? You're just
oh,
like, everybody leave me alone. I don't care if it's 4 in the morning. I've got my magnifying glass just aimed correctly. I've got the book centered on my left leg. I've got my or my drink over here. And honey, leave me alone. Just keep going.
and I haven't set the book on fire with my magnifying glass because I'm not
Right.
reading outside,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Read Dune. I mean, and then one of my favorite books, although it's hard to pick a favorite, I bought the book and I started to try to read it. Bought it at a bookstore. And then I got Audible. And then I was able to listen to that book. I still have my copy, hard copy of Stranger in a Strange Land.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the narrator, did great job on all the voices and everything. The story, I'll tell you, I loved the story until the end. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. You got to read it. But all I know is I hated how the book ended because it left me wanting more. It's like, seriously? But the one word I took from that book, you probably know what it is. And it is that process that we need to start doing, but got to do it from a heart-centered space. I'm sure you would agree, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
We need to start to grok. And my definition is that we assimilate it into every subatomic particle in our being, which
Mm-hmm.
actually brings to mind Greg Braden's statement on this program when he was promoting the healing power of belief. He says, right now we believe. All right? Today, we believe whatever it is that we believe. But one day we will know. There will be no more belief. We will just know.
Mm-hmm.
And case in point, even in this time frame, the medicine of China 5,000 years ago, there was no FDA. There was no governing body to make sure that all this stuff worked. They knew that it was intuitive. They knew that it worked. And it
Mm-hmm.
still works to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best example I can give to folks. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting how you made the comment, too, about people going inward. But they're also going inward to find solutions to, I don't know, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, all of the
Mm-hmm.
different conditions that are out there that we didn't have 50 years ago because
Mm-hmm.
we weren't processed back then. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't start until after World War II that we started to get into the whole mechanized, processed, make it easier, faster, stronger, bigger, and so on and so forth. By the way, there's a great line that I was watching this one program they had the character voices from The Simpsons. And the guy that does Mo, he had this great line. I thought it was so funny. Yeah, Mo's Tavern here. Yeah, home of the smallest big screen TV. And, and I'm sitting here going, and we've been through that. We started out looking for, after we got color and everything, and that was all developed, then we wanted a bigger screen, and then a bigger screen, and then a bigger screen, and then the whole wall, and then cell phones came along. And then we started moving into the smartphone, and then the tablet, and of course the laptop and so forth. And it's like we have in our home a 58-inch, a 40-inch, a 24-inch, not to mention our tablets and our phones and this laptop that I'm communicating with you on.
Mm-hmm.
It's the craziest thing,
Mm-hmm.
There's that part of us as human beings, that is not that spiritual essence that you were talking about earlier that will live on beyond the avatar. I like
Mm-hmm.
that, by the way. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
What, maybe not a timeline. I'm not asking for a timeline,
Mm-hmm.
but what do you see for mankind maybe in 50, 100 years? Do you think maybe we will? And speaking of survive, I had another guest on the program that communicates with the Pleiadians, who have communicated with her that mankind will not go through a sixth extinction event. That gave me comfort. How we're going to do that, I don't know, but the Pleiadians have spoken, as it were. But let me ask you about the future for mankind. Do you think that? Do you feel optimistic about our continuing on past 2100 or 2500 and so forth and so on?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I think humankind won't be necessarily. I think when we step into who we are, which I believe it's going to happen very quickly. I think by 2027, you're going to
Really?
see a massive adjustment here on the planet. It's already happening right now, and I'll give you a hint. There's a swarm here of vehicles that are here now around our planet, and it's not being announced on the news. There are government meetings happening right now with that swarm. The three
Mm.
eye atlas thing is part of that, but I'm just hinting that everything that I am getting that's coming in from various sources, and this is stuff where I again vet it with my heart to go, okay, what's clear here? I believe in the next 2 years you're going to see a lot more of the what I call the inward trajectory for humanity. I believe you're going to find people are going to naturally move that way. Now, obviously, some are not going to choose to,
Hmm.
but I think what you're going to find is that as we step into who we are, as we step into love, and we're connecting as what we're supposed to be, that then you're talking about multidimensional and not just staying in the third density where we exist right now. You know, you hear about Palladians or Nordics in the seventh density, but they can appear to you here in the third density. Humanity, as the alien races all talk about when they say that this is the benevolent alien races, it's supposedly like a 95 to 5% benevolent to malevolent ratio out there. So the good ones are not the 95 percenters. Literally see us as royalty because of this capability of love that none of them possess.
Mm.
And they are basically saying within the next year and a half, you guys are exploding into who you're going to be, those that choose to do so. So I
Oh,
believe that's coming. Yeah.
I got to tell you, I'm
Very
excited.
quickly.
I'm very
Yeah.
excited about that. Seriously.
Yeah.
Um, I
So if
know
you
that.
if you hear about the swarm being here, I won't tell you what the swarm is about, but I will say there's over 2,000 craft that are around and about our planet, and they may show here shortly. If you hear about it, you can say I heard it first on Richard's show.
Absolutely. And I'll certainly exclaim it myself. And it's fascinating to me. I remember there was a gentleman who wrote a book called AD, Apple Doctor. And actually, it was After Disclosure was the subtitle, if
Mm,
you will.
mhm,
And I never got a chance to interview him, but my very first question to him, because he would talk about in his book how everything would change as soon as the disclosure was made. Our religions would change, our economic system would change,
mhm,
our governments would change. The list
mhm,
goes on of everything would change once there was disclosure.
mhm,
And my first question would have been to him that I kind of would put to you in this regard as we're talking about this. What makes you think that the population, the people of the planet, are going to believe our governments, plural,
mhm.
when they tell us, oh, yeah, they're real, we're not alone, etc., because they've been lying to us for so many years? What makes you think we're going to believe you now? Do you think that
Mm,
that is a scenario that would happen? Because I remember, what was it, a year or two ago, they had those hearings and they had the conversations about it. And the one guy kept talking about, oh, yeah, yeah, we're not alone. They're here and we've got this and that and the other. And there are those of us who we just accept that it seems illogical that we're the only beings on this planet in the universe, that this is all that there is, and that there's nobody else out there. And it doesn't make any sense. Again, going back to my logic. But what do you think about that? Do you really think that when we start experiencing them, okay, firsthand, all right, which I think is called the fifth connection or something like that. There was, that kind of thing where now there's interaction. There are people that are calling for them. They want them to come into our society and so forth. What are your thoughts?
So, on your vision of what you see, Richard, that it sounds like to me that you're saying there has to be other life, at least in Richard's brain. And I
Yeah.
will say yes, yes, and yes. For you individually, you're exactly right. There's not just us. We're not alone.
Okay.
To the second part of your question about what's going to happen when we have close encounters of the fifth kind, meaning they're here, you're going to have options. When you see ships around you that are going to be here on the planet, and you're going to have particular alien races beckoning you to say, you can go with us, we're going to provide what you've been looking for. We are the gods returned. You're then going to have to use your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have to discern on your own. Each individual soul gets to decide, do I want to depart the earth for some reason? Do I want to go with them? They're offering me technology and this, and they can even put out this beautiful feeling. All I'm saying is be discerning with your heart. Don't try to think it through.
Mm-hmm.
Just when you're in the presence of ships, which is coming soon, use your heart. Figure out what you, as love, need to do in that instance, and you'll know exactly what to do. Some
Does
will
it?
go onto the ships thinking that's the way to go, and some will remain here. At the end of the day, do what your heart says, and you'll be fine. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be concerned about anything, but you're about to have it happen very soon.
My wife and I are both excited. And of course, during frustrating periods of time, we're going, where are you? Take us away. Get us out of here. Anything's got to be better than this mess that has been created. By the same token, I also have to acknowledge that there are people who are leaving, for example, different parts of the country, parts of the world, for example, for various reasons. California, for example, there is supposedly an exodus, and yet there are people that are moving here too. But on the one hand, I say, well, wait a minute. You're leaving because you don't like the way things are. Why don't you stay and help to try to fix it instead of running away? By the same token, I would say the same thing to the pilgrims of the 1600s who left England because they didn't like the way King George was doing things. It's like, well, why don't you stay and try to fix things? Well, I suppose you couldn't under that kind of authoritarian situation. But these people would be considered patriots who left England, right? All right, well, then I have to give the same kudos to those people who are leaving California, saying, okay, you're patriots. You're leaving a situation that is untenable. I get it. There are those of us who are staying and trying to make a difference. I was going to ask you one other question regarding this event that's coming soon. Does it help that my wife and I are now 6,000 feet above ground where we live now? Does living higher make any difference in that regard?
Well, I'm just assuming, Richard, that they land at your place first because you're easier to get to. They don't have to descend any further. They're like, well, Richard's right there with his wife. Let's talk to them first.
Well, I know that.
But
go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's all I was going to say.
Okay.
Is that sure? They're gonna do the easy landings first. So your place may be top on the list already.
Yeah. Well,
Plus if a ship landed at your place, people below you could see it up there and go, "Oh wow, they're up at Richards. Let's see what he does."
Exactly.
Maybe you'll be the leader.
Well, I don't know that I want to do that. They gave me this, they gave me this beautiful a plaque or or what have you, laminated a piece of paper. I think I still have it. When I was leaving my first long-term 15-year job as operations manager, and it was something along the lines of, "Can you tell me which way they went? I'm their leader."
Right.
And it's like,
Right.
I don't really want to be a leader from the standpoint of, hey, follow me because I have the answers. I am the last person you want to follow who has the answers because I'm searching just like you. You know, if you put your trust in me in that regard, understand that whatever choices you make in regards to what I have shared, those are your choices, not mine. I will not take responsibility for anyone else's life but mine. And I hope that folks will trust their hearts as we continue talking with Michael Selig here on Tell Me Your Story. Michael, I want to thank you so much for the time you've given us here on the program. Fascinating stuff. I'm excited about the future. You know, it's amazing what my wife and I have been through. There's a part of me that, and my wife may feel the same way, that there is since we were, I'm going to say unceremoniously, asked to leave our residence of 19 and a half years. It doesn't feel, even though we bought this home, you know, and we're paying the mortgage and all that kind of stuff, that there's really a place for us here. You know, I've always believed that you're going to pay no matter where you live. You'll either pay rent, you'll pay
Mm-hmm.
a mortgage, or
Mm-hmm.
you will pay a lifestyle, i.e., the people that do not have dwellings to live in. They live on the
Mm-hmm.
streets. They pay.
Mm-hmm.
They do
Mm-hmm.
pay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there's got to be a better way. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking to move from survival to thrival.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been promoting that, well, since 2007 when we started this program. But I've been interviewing people since 2000 or since 1980, talking about all of this stuff. And I mean, you know, the harmonic convergence back in '87, I think it was, and then of course 2012 with the Mayan calendar. My wife had a great line on that too, by the way. She says, "You know the reason why the calendar stopped, or why people think it stopped? Because the guy that was chiseling it, he got bored and tired. He said, 'I've had enough. I'm leaving,' and he just
That was
dropped his
it.
tools and went away. That's why the
That's
calendar
awesome.
ended."
That's
But
awesome.
we've had different things happening over the last several decades that I've been alive. And I am excited about the future. I do my best to stay optimistic. This process we've been through over the last 4 months hasn't helped, but every once in a while I'd get this surge of energy inside that said, "Hey, you're doing fine. We, the universe, have made a way for you. We've
Mm-hmm.
made a way for you to move from here to here."
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't say it was going to be easy, the universe says, but you're going to be in a better place. You're going to be in a better
Mm-hmm.
space, maybe
Mm-hmm.
closer to the ships. Either way,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of what we try to promote on this program, and what you're trying to do too. Do you consider the book Hush to be sort of is there some optimism within that? I mean, I know it's science fiction, but I'm curious about that. Is there some optimism in there?
I think the reader will find a great journey for them, and there's certainly optimism in there. I'm all about allowing a story to be itself, and at the end of the day, I think you'll find the protagonist finds some. There is certainly a conclusion to the novel that allows you to contemplate the good and the bad that an individual goes through, and certainly I think the book will leave you feeling optimistic. And the thing that I would say about your thrival, where you were in one place and you thought that was the best, and then you got kind of jacked up and they said you're going to have to go to another place. This is just kind of the universe, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to the new place and you're like, well, there's something here, but you and your wife feel like you still don't belong, and you're kind of looking forward to this maybe big change that's coming. And what I'm saying is your thrival, I think the thing that you're seeking is not outside of you, right? So no
Mm.
matter where you move, the thrival that you're really seeking has been available to you from the get-go,
Yeah.
right? And we're all now realizing like our thrival is right there. We just
Yeah.
have to go and access it. It's always been there, right?
Always. Yeah.
Home is where your heart is, right?
And one of the phrases I loved from one of my guests, I asked the question, so do you think one day we'll know who we are, who we really are? And they said, no. One day we will know who we have always been. And I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Yep.
these little
Mm-hmm.
statements that are made, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking with Michael Selig, and we're talking with him here on Tell Me Your Story. Michael Selig, my guest, author of Hush. Thank you so much. This has been a great pleasure. Really enjoyed going down this last half of the program down this particular road because I think it's very important that we recognize who we are, where we are, and dream about where we want to go. I think that's the big key right there. And I really appreciate your being a part of the work that we're doing here to try to change the world a little at a time and
It's
make
been
it
an
make it
honor, Richard. Thanks
yeah,
so
make it a
much.
better place for all of
Sure.
us. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
I have three final questions I ask all of my
Mm-hmm.
guests. I'm going to ask you as well. But
Mm-hmm.
before I do, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Mondays at 1 a.m., Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., and of course on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. That's our special edition of Tell Me Your Story. We stream live at those times at richarddugan.com, and we have them on podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and we are on YouTube where you can watch these conversations, and you can take a look at my long-lost brother, second brother, uh, only in hairstyle, but I think in thought as well. And of course, I have a lot of love for my first brother as well, Mike, and I'm glad that he is in my life as well. We also encourage you to go to Amazon and get a copy of my book, and it is called Choices, 5 Steps for Life. And it is available in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle. And then if you could leave us a tip in our tip jar, and that is called PayPal. And on the homepage of richarddugan.com, there are links to both Amazon and to PayPal. And we ask that you give what you can. We'll take energetic support as well. We thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. And finally, we ask you to take some time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s. Spend that time going within, listening to that heart, listening to that still small voice. And now we move on to our final 3 questions for a very special guest, the first of which is, who is Michael Selig?
Michael Selig is love.
What gets you up in the morning?
The excitement of story.
And finally, what was your best day?
That would be today.
I would agree with you, and I thank you for that. And again, thank you for being a part of Tell Me Your Story and the work we are doing to bring new paradigms for a new world as we give you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for letting me be in your life and you being in mine. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.